Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. So we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have her on our show. Her name is Kat Millar. She is the founder of Amplify Your Influence, mentoring coaches and entrepreneurs in growing a profitable business. She has run multiple businesses internationally over 2 decades, delivered over 5,000 coaching sessions, and run over 250 events. Kat left her corporate job and built a 6-figure business in less than 12 months and now helps others do the same. Her mission is to help millions of visionary leaders to make a significant impact while enjoying lifestyle flexibility and freedom, because she believes business should be both fulfilling and fun. Guys, those who are listening on the podcast show and even watching, we're in for a treat because I've known Kat. She's an amazing human being. She's very successful at what she does. She's passionate. She brings so much value to her clients. And wow, super excited to have her on our show today. And Kat, welcome to our podcast show.
Thank you, Jez. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor. I love your work. I love what you do.
Oh, thank you. Bless your heart. So please tell us about yourself and what you do to those who don't know you yet. Go for it. Love to know you.
Yeah, so I help entrepreneurs get fully booked with their ideal clients, and I do this by helping them craft their content in a way that really showcases their unique brilliance. So their genius, their value, to be able to package up that passion through their written words and through their spoken words, so that they can deliver their message in a really compelling way. So I'm passionate about crafting the right language and helping people craft their language, because really marketing is so much about words and making sure the words are the right match to attract the right people to us, not just any people, but our right fit clients. And so I help people with the practicalities of that, but also help them deliver a message that is going to resonate with the mindset of the right people as well, and develop that mindset so that they can not only have the strategies and the tactics and the techniques on what to do practically, but they can also at an energetic level have the energy of the types of people that they want to attract. So I help them work through any mindset blocks that they have as well that are preventing them from achieving success.
That is amazing. How important is crafting a personal message? You mentioned about you help clients put those messages together, mental blocks as well. How important is that?
Well, the reason that I've seen most entrepreneurs and like I work with a lot of coaches and consultants and speakers and trainers, their words, they're so good at what they say, but in terms of actually marketing, knowing how to use the right copywriting, it's a whole different skill. Words that are influential and speak to the subconscious mind. So the whole psychology of, we call it neuromarketing, where it's really being able to influence people at the deeper levels, not at the logic, but at the emotional, the pain points and the desires and the drivers of people. It's the difference between having this really pretty website that no one actually signs up for, and then having a really great landing page that maybe it has slightly crappy design. I mean, design's important, but it's really the words, having the right words and the right like putting language and core messages around what you're doing is the key to standing out, because we all know that there's a sea of noise online. There is so much happening online, and so it's so important for us to stand out and to have our words crafted in a way that makes us really unique in the marketplace.
So there's so many consultants, speakers, trainers, and coaches alike. And sometimes they could be more generalistic. And so, exactly right, they put a website, looks normal, but there's no core message. And you mentioned about copywriting. How important is copywriting in today's business?
With copywriting, I mean, they say that it's about 80% of your marketing. So if your marketing is not working, it's pretty much always your copy. And it's the most underrated skill, I believe, in business. It's one of the most important, but the most underrated. And I never knew that copywriting was so important. It wasn't until I started putting out brochures. And I mean, when I started my business, there was no Facebook, no website, nothing. It was all just brochures and flyers and talking to people. But I had no idea what copywriting even was. I didn't even realize, I thought it was some trademark thing. I didn't realize that the language that we use in our marketing is going to attract or repel people, which is what marketing is. And there's certain words that trigger us towards action and words that repel us into scrolling past. So I teach people the words that turn the brain on, and like power words and power phrases, and the language that makes someone want to read more and want to engage, and the language that hooks people in, compared to language that's kind of boring, same old, that blends in, specifically around being too vague, being too generalistic, like you say. So talking about, oh, I help you achieve the life of your dreams, and I help you have your dream life, like that's what we all really do as coaches. And so to be able to craft compelling language that is based on your unique personality, your character, your stories and your experience, because no one has your stories and experience except you. So being able to put these into a way that compels people and draws them in and hooks them in and engages them, that's the key. Because you can have an amazing product or offer, but if your words aren't attracting people like a fishing rod, like reeling people in, then it's all a waste, which is sad.
Wow, I like when you say compelling messages, and the core of it. It's really important towards in business, because there's a difference between being general and standing out. And you've been in the coaching business. You've run a very successful business, and seeing your accolades and the achievements that you've done for the past 2 decades. When it comes to the mindset, because obviously it's a journey, we're all on a journey, and you've gone through each experiences, the trials, the errors, the successes, the peaks and the troughs. What is the mindset that you actually bring every single day to lead where you are right now? Because you're always improving, you're always recalibrating, to getting better and refining, your coaching business. What's the mindset that you bring every day?
So the successful entrepreneurial mindset is around, like, it's a growth mindset really, but it comes down to, there's a whole different mindset in the entrepreneurial world to in the 9 to 5 world. And when I left 9 to 5, I had no idea that it was completely different. So it's almost like there's this invisible rule book for the 9 to 5. Like you work these set hours, and you show up and you do these set tasks that your boss has given you, and then suddenly in the entrepreneurial world, it's completely different. Like everything comes down to you. And so when you don't run it like a successful organization, and you kind of think of it like just some hobby on the side, like I was talking to my friend today, and we're talking about, if you were to open like a burger shop, for example, you would plan the menu and the recipe, and you'd put out brochures, you'd do all this stuff. But it's almost like people think, oh, I need to just start this business online, and all these people will flood and flock to want to work with me. And it doesn't work like that. The entrepreneurial mindset is like, I'm going to do it until it works. I don't just get to like, oh, it didn't work, I just give up. So there's certain things about entrepreneurship that you can't think 9 to 5. You can't think, I'm getting paid for this hour. I've talked to people who have said, I've told them what they need to do to get clients, and they say, oh, but that takes time, or that takes money. And that unwillingness to invest, the successful entrepreneur, they say whatever it takes. And of course, that has to be balanced with self-care and your family and lifestyle. Like that's super important to me to make sure that people are aligning their business with what their values are. So they might not want to work nights or weekends. Like that's the beauty of entrepreneurship is you get to do it your way.
How do you
And so there's
flip the
so much
switch? Like,
freedom in it.
how do you flip it? Like, as in, like you mentioned about the 9 to 5 mindset and the entrepreneur mindset, because it's a different ball game. How did you flip over, or how did you move from the 9 to 5 into an entrepreneur mindset, and how did you stay congruent to that and stay consistent? Because there's a lot of even like with podcast listeners, they're probably in the same boat where they're kind of thinking about it, then they are doing it, they halfway. So there's a constant battle. How did you overcome that?
The biggest key to overcome it was being around entrepreneurs. So it's so important that you hang around with lots of entrepreneurs because if your friends are like, oh, if your friends are working 9 to 5 and you're kind of one of the only entrepreneurs, then they'll go, oh, come out after work or, come and hang out on a Saturday. And if you're building something, what I found when I was working 9 to 5 is I wasn't building anything. So as soon as 5 o'clock hit, you go and do other things. But as an entrepreneur, you're building, you're building, you're building, and you can't stop that momentum. So of course you have, you have to have breaks, but until you've got something happening and you've got that momentum, you can't say, oh, um, you can't treat it like a job, and you can't think of every hour as I need to get paid for every hour. I'll spend 100 hours or more on creating a webinar and I don't get paid for those hours, but then that's an asset. You build an asset and then it keeps delivering over and over. It's kind of like, you would know as an author how many hours you put into your book, and then it's not like you get paid for all those hours. It's this kind of risk. There's this lag period where you're putting out all this output and you're not getting any reward back. And that's where a lot of people give up, and because they don't have that mindset of resilience. I call it radical resilience. You've got to have that radical belief that this is going to work, and you just keep going until it does work. There's no, oh, I'll just see how it goes. Oh, a couple of weeks later didn't work. You just can't do that as an entrepreneur.
You mentioned about a, something is just resonating just with the radical resilience. Can you explain a bit further what radical resilience is? Because for me, I'm kind of like getting goosebumps. Can you explain further what that is? It's awesome.
I think, like you look at your to-do list sometimes and there's hundreds of things on there. And I think, how am I going to get all this done? And the resilience piece is just, I'm just going to keep going until it's done. Like there's no option of, oh, I'll just, I mean, and it's just keeping going whether you feel like it or not. I guess it's a resilience thing. It's how can I just keep consistently showing up for people because it's bigger than me? It's not about me feeling good. It's about I'm building something. I'm attached to this legacy and I want to be an example of possibilities. And so people are watching my life and I have a responsibility to show up and be an example and be an inspiration. And so it always comes back to your values. Like for me, one of my highest business values is to really look after the people that are in my life and be an inspiration to them and serve them. And so if I'm not resilient, I realize it affects a whole lot of people. It affects my energy of how I'm showing up as a coach, how I'm showing up on camera. And so really doing the work, facing your stuff that's not comfortable and just really pushing through it and doing whatever it takes.
I really believe in daily habits and, again, like being congruent with your values, whether it's your business or your personal life, and staying consistent. How do you build successful habits? Because obviously, if you're building a business, there's certain key things that you do to keep that momentum going. How do you do it in your end?
Yeah, I'm such a fan of habits because it's a time saver. So anything that saves time and saves decision fatigue, which is a big problem for a lot of entrepreneurs, is trying to make decisions when you've got so many options, so many things that you could be doing. And so that habit of, let's say, 2 hours a week, I'm going to do just learning. That's growth. That's 2 hours of growth time. So I do mine on a Friday. Every single morning is self-care time up till 12 o'clock. I don't have clients. So that's a habit, and I always move in that time, and that's where I get a lot of ideas and inspiration. Twice a week, I have what I call cave day, and it's just kind of going in a cave, not literally, but cave day. And I turn the phone off. I treat it like a landline, and it just sits over there, and I don't use it. Uh, I just sit there and create. So I go out in nature and get ideas without my phone, and then like use a piece of paper, maybe go somewhere beautiful and create, and then get home and then just like outwork it all on my laptop. So that's a habit. That's something I've been doing for a long time. And so it's now built into the routine. You don't have to think about it. So structures create outcomes. And so if you've got structures in your week, in your month, like I'll have, for example, a goal for that quarter, one big goal, three smaller goals. And then every week is in the calendar things that are going to lead to those goals. So if you don't have it as a habit, it's not going to happen. I ask my clients, what is your skill acquisition habit? How are you consistently and systematically acquiring new skills? What skill are you working on this month or this quarter? What's your growth plan? What's your self-care plan? And a lot of people, they just don't have it. And often it's just because we haven't really been taught it. This is part of the entrepreneurial world where we just, no one's showing us. And so it's something that we have to be really intentional as a leader of our own business to go, okay, hey, why am I procrastinating? Why am I not doing the things that I know I should do? And really facing it, being brave and being courageous and facing it, and then creating a habit around it.
How you said structure creates outcomes, and people don't have that level of awareness, and it's taken time, and this is where you're operating at a high level for success is because you've inbuilt habits. Those who are kind of finding their self-awareness, what would be a first step to actually build that type of structure?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't get it perfect. There's so much that I still want to put in place, and I think the real key is going, okay, I can't do everything, but what's going to be the thing that moves the needle the furthest, the fastest? And so looking at, okay, what is my outcome that I want? Let's say you want to get 5 new clients. So what is going to be the structure that I can put into my life that's going to start me progressing towards that goal? So maybe it's making 10 sales calls a day. Maybe it's posting in 5 Facebook groups every day for half an hour, like putting these simple things in place that that if you keep showing up and taking those actions. I like performance-based actions rather than constantly, I have to have this many clients, because that if you just keep showing up and consistently doing the right things, that the outcomes are going to come. So for example, in 2019, I set a goal to write 50 blog posts, made it public, and then you have to deliver, right? Because you've told everyone you got to do it. And I really didn't enjoy doing it. I didn't want to do it, but I thought, I know that one of my business values is being an example of possibilities. So I know that I'm going to do it if I make it public. And so having those things in place that you just can simply show up and do it without putting a whole lot of pressure on yourself.
Speaking of showing up, you show up every Wednesday, Facebook Live, creating content, providing content, by the way. And there's so much nuggets in those couple of minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, more than that. Every Wednesday, you always show up without fail. And I'm going to attest to that because I'm part of that Facebook group. Kat, there's something about you. You've got that oomph, you've got that passion and the fire within you. And the program, or your signature program, is you amplify your influence. How do you build your influence in any industry as an entrepreneur?
Influence is like obviously one of my favorite words, and it's why I've named my business that, and why I was so passionate about it. And it's a little bit misunderstood by some people. Like some people think it's about changing someone's mind, or manipulating someone, or having these sneaky tactics to help to change their mind. But influence, really, it's about helping inspire someone to take action for positive change, you know. So if your heart is to truly serve and support and show up and be that positive change in someone's life and help them transform, then it's okay. My people, the people that I feel that I'm here on this planet to help. Uh, how can I do everything in my power to communicate how that they can actually take action to get from where they are to where they want to be? So all of us have people who have blocks, you know, different blocks. And the more we get to know our ideal clients, the more we see the patterns and the blocks of the people that we're working with. And so to be more influential, it's really understanding your people and being willing to have a lot of conversations to see what those patterns are, to really see what people want, where they're struggling. And so I did hundreds of free calls, you know, free strategy sessions and discovery calls, and just wrote down people's limiting beliefs and people's desires, and just got out my highlighter and just started highlighting like what they want, what they don't want, and looking for patterns. And then the more we understand someone, the more we can influence them. So when you have a community of people and you understand what their pain points are and what their drivers are and motivations are, obviously everybody's different and unique, but you look for the patterns, then you can start creating content that's going to help that community. You know, you leverage rather than one by one by one by one, which is why I'm a big advocate for presenting, because every time you sit one-on-one with someone, there is hundreds of people that could have benefited from that conversation potentially, right? So if you can understand your people and package something that's going to help 50 people in an hour, then that has just saved you 50 hours. Instead of speaking to one person, you spoke to 50 people in that hour. And so even though I'm an introvert and I struggled with the spotlight and all of that, and I had to get over that fear, now I know that I can show up on camera and lots of people are being impacted. Therefore, the ripple effect is so much greater. Did that answer your question, or did I go on a
Yeah.
complete
No.
tangent?
No, you mentioned about the hours that you put in, the coaching sessions, the discovery sessions, and you find certain patterns, and through that, through the hours that you build, you kind of find what it is. It's like, oh, it's kind of like a similar thing. So you've got one pattern, and then another client comes along. Oh, yeah, it's kind of the same strategy that they're kind of playing, right? Is there a certain
That's
step?
right.
Is there a certain step that you do to, to help them with their breakthroughs? Uh, how do you do that from your end when it comes to, amplifying your influence? Is what you do in your business?
Yeah. So because we're all solving different problems, it's really just that ability to look at what the most common problems and blocks are, and then design and organize content that's going to help people through those blocks. So in terms of helping my clients to have a bigger reach, it's going, okay, what are the areas people are struggling with, and how can we influence them to be inspired to take action? Because there's a lot of content that goes up there that's just information, you know, and there's information on Google, there's information everywhere. So people aren't short of information, they are short of inspiration to actually take action on it. And so when you share your stories, your experiences, when you can just consistently show up, you're kind of breaking down those barriers in people's mind. And it's not about just like one post and you get a client. It's about consistently people getting to know you, like you, trust you, so that they will want to take that next step towards you. And that's done through a series of steps. It's not just like one magic pill. People think, oh, tell me this one thing that I can do.
So true. So, when it comes to building credibility to attracting your clients or working with yourself as well, part of the Amplify Your Influence program, there's a lot of people that are kind of like with overwhelm, they don't know how to get started. What would be that first step to actually amplifying their influence?
And the first step is identifying the three things that you want to identify. The first one is your unique brilliance. So your strengths, your genius. So if, for example, you've got natural giftings and talents, and then you unpack them and you master them, that is what is influential. If you've got something that's maybe 5 out of 10, and you could spend years getting it to a 6 out of 10, it's still not really something that's going to influence people. But if you've got something that you're really good at that other people aren't good at, and maybe you've got a bit of unconscious competence around it, like you're really good at it, but you're like, oh, everyone can do that, and your friends are like, no, you're really good at that. You've got to pay attention to where you're uniquely gifted and where you've really mastered that skill. Where you've really, it's like Michael Jordan, putting the hoops in. Like, he obviously had natural talent, but he didn't just kick back. He did hundreds and hundreds of hoops in the early morning where no one was watching. So it's that unglamorous time of like doing that training to develop your craft, and really understand why you're unique and why someone would pay for that. The next thing you want to identify is your ideal client. And so it's not just about a niche, but it's like, who are the people I feel here to serve? And often it's come from your own wounding, things that you've overcome. So really looking at problems you've overcome, because you've overcome them, you've worked out strategies, keys, tools that you can then pass on. And then the third thing you want to identify is like the actual method or process. So if you hate technology and you're a real social person, then maybe sitting behind the screen for 12 hours a day, not the right strategy for you. Your strategy's got to be based on you. And I was talking to a lady today, and she said, I just don't want to network. I don't want to get on phone calls. She is more of a task person, so she's happy to sit there, create a funnel, create an opt-in, a landing page, and create a freebie, create Facebook ads, and do all that ticky stuff behind the scenes. So that is the best strategy for her personality and preferences. So really, if you want to influence people, it's about identifying your own unique, your values, your vision, your mission, your character, and your why. Why you're driven to do it, and that's gonna motivate you to want to keep showing up in business, because business is not easy. There's hundreds of challenges to overcome, and so if you're trying to be out of alignment with who you are, it's just so much harder.
I'm like speechless at the moment.
Does that make sense,
Guys,
or is that
yeah,
totally
no, it 200% makes sense.
okay?
I'm kind of feeling different because I'm actually absorbing to what you're saying. Like for the last this segment has been a dynamite of just golden nuggets, and I can't wait to go back and re-listen to all the strategies, the principles, the insights that you just shared. And I want to say thank you. These are amazing.
Thank
With the
you.
question, with I always ask to all the guests, what is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how do you use motivation for your personal success?
I love this question, and I love your book, Motivation Without the Hype, by the way. It's such a good book. Um, when you look at the word motivation, like the root word is motive, right? So the motive that you have, the reason, the why, that is really why we do what we do. So motivation without the hype to me means stripping away like the external, the need to be constantly consuming, and instead really tapping into the true source of inspiration inside us that's going to keep us going, especially when things get hard. And so motivation that lasts is intrinsic, right? It comes from our inner drive, like really what's driving us, not from external factors. And so understanding and honoring what drives you at the deepest level is what really keeps you motivated. So why do I turn up consistently even when I don't feel like it? It's my why, which is being an example of possibilities to the people watching my life. So when I think about being a role model, I go above and beyond what I feel like doing. I go into the growth zone, which is, that step outside the comfort zone, not because of, I'm so pumped up and motivated, but because of that deep inner drive that's keeping me going. So I love that the whole concept of motivation without the hype, because I think it is stripping away a lot of that fluff that we can distract ourselves with, and always seeking other people's approval and comparison and all that. It's just noise. It takes us off our purpose. it's distracting, and it stops us from being in our natural state as creators. You know, our natural state is meant to be creation, but a lot of times we don't allow enough space for, you know, creative downloads to come in and for us to outwork them, you know, to actually create. And so when we get hypey and we get, oh, I need this other course and I need this motivational speaker to pump me up all the time, it's never lasts, right? It's not going to keep you getting up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, for years to come. If you want to be built to last as an entrepreneur, you don't want to be running on 8 coffees and adrenaline. You know, you want to be it's a marathon, not this crazy sprint.
Again, I'm just picturing in my mind 8 coffees a day. Oh man, you full dead. But thank you
Imagine
so much.
she's on 8 coffees.
Thank you so much, Kat. That was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, if you need more information, you got to get in touch with Kat. Think about all the accolades that she's achieved when it comes to coaching sessions. She's very experienced in what she does in terms of influence. And if you want to get in touch with her and you want to get to know what she does in her business, look at our show notes. She's also doing a wonderful service, and this is a discovery. I wouldn't say discovery, but a strategy session that you can actually work with her. All the links and all the notes are provided at the show notes to get in touch with her and you want to get connected with us. So thank you so much, Kat. And guys, if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each of every episode. So if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspiration episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we will see you on the next episode.